the whole reason for today's podcast has been, there's a lot of negativity about Hong Kong in the world. I personally feel very positive about it. I came here over 15 years ago. Um, I suppose I could look at it neutrally in many ways because we have business all over the world, and I still feel it's a great place to do business, a great place to live. To live, could have lived in Dubai, Singapore, anywhere I wanted to. And the reason we set up this podcast was to answer any questions that people may have about Hong Kong, whether it be positive or negative. Please feel free to be as negative as you like because we're supposed to get a debate going here as much as we possibly can. It's not supposed to be just all everything's great. And I'd love to answer any questions that people have in general about Hong Kong, whether it be me or Stefano, who can answer.
All right. So, Derek, I shared the list. We prepared together a list of questions so that we can cover some points. If you want to start, we can be freestyle if you want, or you can just ask some of the questions that are out there. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, no, we can ask the questions. Maybe people want to understand this. And then this is your expertise, Stefano. Why should a company set up operations in Hong Kong and why it makes sense? Now, everybody, if I can just remind you, Stefano um, lives in Thailand actually, and he's in Hong Kong quite a lot, and he's getting all around the place. So he's completely neutral. You must understand this, okay? He's looking at it from a businessman's perspective. Okay, so before you answer that question, I just wanted to make that clear, Stefano. Why a company should decide to set up operations in Hong Kong and why it makes sense.
Well, now it makes even more sense. Let's start with this statement. A Hong Kong company is a company that allows you to enter and to own subsidiaries pretty much everywhere in the world because there are double taxation agreements in place. So, first of all, makes sense because of taxation. Tax in Hong Kong, it's 8.25% for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollar profit, right? And therefore, it's a low tax jurisdiction. For the money after 2 million, it would be 16.5%. So tax-wise, it's already something that makes extremely sense. Then opening a Hong Kong company and opening a bank account, it's extremely easy. You can do in a day. I actually literally had a client, and I'm not making fiction out of it, asking me to set up a company less than 1 hour ago, and it's already set. Opening a bank account might take a little bit extra time because we need to go through compliance, but it will take probably a week or so. So speed of execution, okay? And then the simplicity to run the company really makes everything easier, all right? So if you have to set up a company, Hong Kong versus Singapore, and again, I'm talking as an agnostic, because we have offices in Singapore as well, and I love Singapore as well. It may make sense for many other things, but you don't need a local director. You can be just your foreign director yourself. You can set up a company, right? And then Hong Kong is full of highly skilled individuals, right? With decent salaries currently. I would say a third lower for a parity than Singapore, right? Obtaining visa for resident in Hong Kong, for people that want to apply for work permit in Hong Kong is relatively easy as well, compared to maybe China and Singapore. So in the perspective of setting up a regional headquarters, may make sense. And this is one of the reasons. Then, if you ask me, and then passing to the subsequent questions, why it makes sense now, is because the government is really putting their pocket where the mouth is. They're not just saying, we're going to support you, come, and doing a big propaganda. No, they instituted funds like the BUD or the tech voucher for people to invest. in Hong Kong and get money from Hong Kong elsewhere. Let me rephrase and let me show you how it works really. So you set up a company in Hong Kong, then you apply for these government funds. You need to establish a business plan, right? You need to show what you're gonna do internationally, and the government can support you up to 80% real cash. And we do this application, we do it successfully. It's little tedious with the information that you need to feed, but then you really get what you ask for. And this will support global expansion for Hong Kong-based company. So it might give you the answer.
Can I ask you this question actually? And please be as honest as you like. Your man has lived around the world. Um, a lot of people left Hong Kong over the last few years, especially expats, and now a lot want to come back. What do you feel as somebody who's been in and out of Hong Kong? You've been to Thailand, you've been to Singapore, you come back to Hong Kong. You've seen, I don't know, you've probably seen the changes in Hong Kong in a few weeks. What's your opinion as, an Italian man who loves Hong Kong, but you have businesses around the world. You're coming in and out of places. I want to know your honest opinion.
Okay. One
What's
thing
your
is living in
thoughts?
Hong Kong, one thing is having a business in Hong Kong, right? Uh, I will live in Hong Kong all my life. Education is top notch. Uh, Quality of life, despite what people say, it's great. You have access to beach and mountains. You are within 30 minutes everywhere you are in Hong Kong to the airport, and you can now fly everywhere. And this is on the personal basis, right? So you can live in Hong Kong, live happy, and having your regional headquarters in Hong Kong is definitely better than having it in China. With all due respect for China, that I love very much, but I would think that any management level person would really definitely pick Hong Kong versus another city in China. Also because of personal tax treatment, just to be romantic. It's not just about rivers and birds. It's also because you pay less taxes, right? And because capital can flow, because taking out money from China might be slightly complicated. On a business level, you can have your business in Hong Kong and basically experience some sort of nomadism if you set up a company so that it can be managed by Hong Kong, having an administration in Hong Kong. You can be a shareholder in Hong Kong and make things that work for you. So you can actually live in Thailand, you can live in Europe, you can live pretty much everywhere you want, still base your business in Hong Kong, right? Then with a double taxation agreement between Hong Kong and the other part of the world, there will be a way to harmonize your taxation. But still, you can get all the benefits of having your business established in Hong Kong, receiving money freely, easily, not paying taxes on dividend, moving money back and forth. Things that don't really happen, for example, in China, where you need to have an evidence for everything that you're doing, or you need to apply, or you need to physically be there. Hong Kong is very digital in this, right? Very digital in the banking space. China is becoming digital, but when it comes to bank transactions, it's not as digital. Whoever does business in China know that there is queues and lines to apply, for example, for international remittances. It's very complicated. Hong Kong takes a click. Sometimes it's even too fast. So Hong Kong makes sense for people and businesses. But it depends on you.
How do you feel about Hong Kong as a place in terms of pros and cons? Um, you're a man that's traveled around the world, do business around the world. What are the cons as well as the pros? Not just business, but living in a place, Thailand versus Hong Kong, Singapore versus Hong Kong, all these places that people have moved to. What would be the cons to Hong Kong as well as the pros?
It takes me a bit to think about the cons of being in Hong Kong. But I would say it's quite expensive. Now, comparing when I'm like, for example, in Thailand or in Europe, it's quite expensive. I would say it's one of the cons in general. But Singapore is equally expensive. Uh, I would say that you have some days where pollution might be high, may skyrocket, but it's not always the case. You don't have pristine beaches, but honestly speaking, this is just for a way of living. But if you're there for business, it really outpaces. One thing is that Hong Kong, if you don't handle it with care, you can get carried away. I don't know if it's a real cons, but it's probably a pro that can be transforming in cons. Actually, if you're a workaholic, Hong Kong can really carry you away because it's very hectic. It's always constantly stimulating your business nerves. It's full of opportunity. So you can call it a console or you can call it a pro. It's a very active city. Your adrenaline is always high. So you see what I mean? There is never rest in Hong Kong, at least on the side of the business people there.
Yeah, no, I get you. Thanks, Stefano. And I'm wondering if anyone else has any questions because, like I said, I get questions positive and negative. And I would like to answer any questions that anyone may have about Hong Kong. I'll be completely unbiased. I can live anywhere in the world I want. I choose Hong Kong, so I'll tell you the good side and the bad side. Not everything's perfect, but for me, it is, more good than bad. So if anyone wants to ask a question, please feel free.
You mean I ask you a question? Uh, yeah,
No, I think anybody. We
anyone.
have quite a few people on the line here. We've got Chris there. I think we've got Aru, so on. If anyone would like to ask a question, and I can answer that question quite easily. Okay, so how do you see the direction of Hong Kong going in terms of the business environment, things that will improve or get worse? How do you see the future of cryptocurrencies in Hong Kong? Um, okay, so I'll start with the message that I saw. How do I see the future of Hong Kong going? As a business person, I think that as Hong Kong opens up further with the mainland China, especially the Greater Bay, my personal opinion is that the GDP of Hong Kong will probably double in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Now, it'll become more Chinese, so you must try your best to speak Chinese as much as you can. But I would be, again, remember, I could live in Dubai, I can live in Singapore, I can live anywhere I want, right? I live here for a reason. I'm not stuck here. I live here for a reason. I live here because I believe that I've got access to 72 million people in the Greater Bay Area. And Hong Kong will be integrated into that area, and it's happening very fast right now. And as a business person, I think to myself, I'm in Singapore. It's a tiny little country. It's like, where's it? It's a lovely place. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing big happening there. If I'm in Hong Kong, got access to 72 million people, come on. Now, the opportunities are huge. It's like, if I want to chill out and take it easy, I'll go to Singapore, where everyone else wants to take it easy. So that's where people go and they want to retire. As if you want to make something of yourself, you stay in Hong Kong, where people actually want to make something of themselves. Anytime in Singapore, I get bored and want to go sleep. No offense, Singapore. I think it's a beautiful country and stuff like that, but it's not actually hitting the roof off. It only did well because Hong Kong was having trouble. Now Hong Kong is doing well again. All the companies want to come back here. So I hope that answers that question. In terms of cryptocurrency, my own thoughts on cryptocurrency is that anyone who got in to Bitcoin and got out on time made a lot of money. Good on them. Some of my friends made a lot of money. Some of them lost a lot of money. I believe that crypto will be government controlled. It'll be government regulated. So you'll have USD digital dollar. You'll have Hong Kong digital dollar. You will have Chinese digital dollar. And to be honest with you, I think that the technology behind cryptocurrency is great. But going forward, I don't see any of these coins making it. I think it's all going to be government controlled. So I hope that answers any questions there that I had.
I'm happy
How do
that
you
we
feel,
have
Stefano?
diametral opposite opinions. I do think that Hong Kong will become a hot shot in the digital asset space. And I do very much think that Hong Kong and Dubai will be those two jurisdictions that will really play a pivotal role in the expansion and adoption of cryptocurrency and digital assets in the planet. And I'm not giving any financial advice, but I can tell you that there are few companies, they are setting the pace in the planet. One is Animoca, the other one is Hex. Top-notch companies in the space of, for example, digital asset holdings, custodian services. I know personally the founders because I've been working with them during the funding process. And I've been through quite a bit of things with them. Uh, I understand where you come from, and I love you very much. And I'm happy that finally found something that we disagree on. So I do think that Hong Kong will develop very much because there is a lot of effort being put in creating Hong Kong as a digital asset hub, also in terms of tax rules, in terms of SFC, and I do very much think that we will see a good degree of adoption. Clearly, we need to be careful with what is going to happen with the government because still remember that Hong Kong is still part of China. I mean, and I'm not saying this with any sort of double meaning, but Hong Kong is part of China, and it's good to accept this, and we need to understand what is going to happen. But I see a lot of things going on. Many companies in Hong Kong have been set up with the intention of being a crypto hub, of working as a crypto company. Uh, Crypto companies pay taxes in Hong Kong quite a bit. So I don't see why the Hong Kong government shouldn't be happy to have companies coming here, setting up a crypto hub, making money, and hiring people, which is one of the prerequisites when you apply for a visa. So, did you see my point, Derek? Or
Yeah, no, I see your point. You mentioned digital assets, right? So that's different from cryptocurrencies, right? That's an asset, right? If I look at cryptocurrency, I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are not right
I,
now digital
yeah, they
assets,
are
they're not
strictly
taxed.
they are
They're not
strictly
part of the
connected,
government
though. I mean,
taxation
digital
process.
assets are all backed by Ethereum. So if Ethereum goes down, like most of them, or either Solana or Ethereum, whatever, if Ethereum goes down, the value of digital asset goes down. It's very much interrelated. It's blockchain technology that we are talking about. So uh, crypto or digital, in my opinion, you look at them with pretty much the same view. Uh, Having said that, that would be the survival of the fittest. I do very much believe there are many currencies that will disappear. Many of them had already. So there would be. I'm very Darwinistic. For me, it's digital Darwinism, the survival of the fittest, and there would be there would probably be 5 or 6 primary currencies that will stay, and all the rest is rubbish. Honestly, it's just rubbish. Uh,
Yeah, I get you there. Look, I was at a I was at the crypto conference a few years ago. I got talking to this guy, and he said, "Oh, crypto is the new currency, and this and that." And, I said, "Well, I hold a lot of gold, actually." He said, "Oh, gold's gone with the cowboys. It's all crypto now." And I said, "Well, what happens if you shut the Wi-Fi off?" He said, "That'll never happen." So recently, I said to people, "Try tell that to people in the Ukraine. What happens when the internet gets shut off? Are you going to spend that money?" Because his argument to me was, "How are you going to spend gold?" And I said, "Well, how are you going to spend crypto?" And he said, "Well, I spend crypto on this, spend crypto on that." My point is that I believe in crypto technology, but owned by the government or taxed by the government like any asset. Like you have an ETF, the government gets a slice. The government have the most guns, and it's like what they say in the US: never go against the Fed. And I believe never go against the government. If these idiots thinking, oh, we're going to have a cryptocurrency outside of the global currency and we're going to have our own currency to take back the power, I'm sorry, my friend, you obviously don't understand how the world works. The governments run the world. If they want to shut you down, they shut you down. It's like crypto will survive. Yes, I agree. Blockchain will survive, but it will be be taxed by the government. This whole idea of a currency outside of the global currency system is just absolutely ridiculous. And anyone who ever believed in it
So you
is an
see, we are
absolute
saying the same
fool.
thing. My point is that Hong Kong will bloom as a digital asset and crypto hub because the government woke up and is trying to regulate it, right? We are not doing anything wrong, right? So you either fight it or adopt it or find a way in the middle. I mean, look how they handle Uber. It's quite relatable. At first, it was complete, like, mass destruction of Uber. No Uber, Uber illegal, Uber illegal. Now, look at that. Uber and taxis are working together. Isn't it true?
Yeah, I agree with
What?
that. Once the government gets a slice and they can tax it, that's fine. But I'm always very dubious about anything the government doesn't get cut of. I'm not saying anything bad about the government, but governments run the world. Let's not forget that. And if they're not getting a slice, you're probably going to go out of business. We got a question here from Kat. She said, "How do you think the employment landscape will change in Hong Kong?" So, um, the employment landscape in Hong Kong has changed massively since I arrived, actually, and particularly in the past 5 years. The employment landscape here is highly Cantonese or Putonghua speaking now. Highly. It used to be quite foreigner focused, in fairness. Um, I see Hong Kong actually growing a lot, and I'll tell you my reasons for this, and people will think I'm wrong. But in mainland China, we've had some issues recently. There's been like people are a little bit scared. They don't know what's going on with the lockdown, no lockdown, lockdown, no lockdown. I actually feel that Hong Kong will again become the conduit to mainland China because everyone wants the dollar, right? Are you going to give up access to 1.3, 1.4 billion people when it comes to making money? No. Now, will you be slightly apprehensive about basing yourself in mainland China based on all the negative stories in the Western press? Now, I go to mainland China quite a lot. My wife is mainland Chinese. I own apartments in mainland China. A lot of my friends are mainland Chinese. I go there a lot, right? And I get to ask this question a lot, and I've never had an issue. However, there is a lot of negative news in the media about mainland China in the West, right? A lot undeserved, if you ask me. That will make companies base themselves in Hong Kong, which will improve the employment, and companies will just flock here. I'm telling you now, watch this. I'm already getting phone calls. They all want to come back from Singapore. They all want to come back to Hong Kong because they want to access the Chinese market, and they cannot do it from Singapore. So, actually, my take on employment in Hong Kong is very positive. I don't know if you agree,
I
Stefano.
very much agree for a matter of numbers. Uh, numbers talk. Uh, you hop on a train, not on a flight, and you cross the border in 25 minutes. If you're a Hong Kong resident, even faster, and you access to a huge amount of population. So now, uh, presence and proximity is always the go-to when you start the business or when you need to found for a market, right? And of course, you need to have the right market fit. But if you have to bet on a place where there could be massive adoption, China definitely is the place. And China has been silent for quite a bit. There would be definitely revenge spending. I can already see that. I can already see patterns in travel industry or retail industry, which we do very much take care of. I mean, our biggest practice as accounting firm is e-commerce, uh, hospitality. We do a lot of F&B, and we can see shipping as well. we can see a lot of stuff happening coming from China. So revenge, uh, consumerism will come, which good or bad for the environment, definitely good for business, but it's an opportunity that entrepreneurs really need to grasp. And that's it. In terms of pattern on the labor change, many people left, I would say. Like a few months ago, it was a nightmare to find an accountant. I couldn't hire. I need to offshore to other jurisdictions, Philippines, Malaysia, but slowly coming back. There many went to the UK. So remote working still giving a little bit of an opportunity. I could see some digital nomadism pattern going on. Hong Kong is still quite expensive. So I might do agree on the fact that high paid positions might be predominantly being in Hong Kong, while lower middle class or middle class might move somewhere else. A little bit the trend and pattern of Singapore to a certain extent. Hong Kong, it's really pushing through, and it might become expensive with inflation and everything. But in terms of trend of work, definitely hybrid working is becoming the norm. If you ask me, I still personally believe that a good amount and dose of physical context really very much help the business environment and the entrepreneurship environment. But we cannot deny that a hybrid work or remote working, it's becoming a new normal. And we just need to accept it, embrace it, and make it ours. And create a culture, not just through cutting, like suckling pigs, but also through digital connection. And I'm seeing already how virtual reality is becoming prominent in the equation. Somebody might feel it's sad, but it's really it's going to be a new part of society. I can see that. I can see a meeting room with virtual reality connections. It will happen. It will happen. Fitness, same. Fitness, virtual reality is changing the world of fitness. And I've been in fitness all my life. And I can see that half of my workouts are VR based. I'm very sure that my business life will be at some point very much digitally or VR based. You will see an avatar of myself talking through Hong Kong.
Yeah, I agree with you there on the fitness front, by the way. I think that's going to become a huge part of it. And the advances in the technology where you can just use your phone and connect it to your TV, and then they can actually pinpoint the parts of your body which can check if you're doing a press up properly or not. And you can have a virtual personal trainer. There's actually a company called Impact doing it right now. IMPAKT. My friend John Graham actually is one of the owners of it, and it's unbelievable, you know. But look, I just want to answer Dan's question here. He had said, what do I think about the ESG market in Hong Kong? So it's funny actually. I was sent an investment deck by an ESG company in Hong Kong after my meeting with them yesterday this morning, and I was highly impressed by them. If you look at Kai Tak in Hong Kong, 1/3 of it is dedicated to green, so we can call that ESG. If you look at the private members clubs, the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, everything is sustainably sourced. The water is even, they make it themselves through water desalination, I believe. So you can call that ESG as well. However, I believe that Hong Kong has not had much ESG, but if you look at Hong Kong over the last few years, you can see the waterfront along the Victoria Harbour. There's a place for people to hang out. You can look at Rosewood developments in K11. Like you look at IFC. There's nowhere for kids to play. There's no green area. There's nothing. You look at the new developments coming up. There's lots of greenery. There's actually art galleries and stuff like that. So actually, ESG I think is going to be very important for 2 points. Some people care about it, right? They actually care about it. However, unfortunately, a lot of companies couldn't care less about ESG, but they want to be seen to care about it. So they will have no choice but to take part in it. Let's face it, a lot of companies just want to make money. They care about their bottom line. But at the end of the day, to attract employees, they will have to be seen to care about ESG. So as a business, and that's why I'm looking at investing in this company, I actually think it's a great investment because companies have no choice but to enter the ESG marketplace. And I think ESG as a whole, if you look around Hong Kong, and I believe that a lot of people are unhappy in Hong Kong for many years because there has been no ESG. There's been very little parks like in the city. Now you see them popping up. Just look at the waterfront. Look at K11. Look at Kai Tak. Look at the developments out at the airport. There's a huge amount of development dedicated to green. So in fact, Hong Kong has been way behind for years, but I believe Hong Kong now knows to keep the population happy, you have to be ESG
Yeah,
friendly.
very well said. Derek, we got a very interesting one from Herman. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur in the fitness industry and would like to hear your advice for young entrepreneurs starting out in Hong Kong. Love it. First of all, if you're in fitness and you practice fitness, you already have an advantage on anyone else just because you get high of endorphins. And Derek and I knows that there is only one legal way to get high and be a top performer. Get up in the morning, beat the sun, and work out. End of the story. This is secret sauce to success. Not that we are successful, right, Derek? We're just normal, average people, but we're happy. And we're happy entrepreneurs. And every time we step in the office, we are happy. And one of this happiness is due to chemical responses in your brains, endorphins. So, even better if you're an entrepreneur in the fitness industry, because that means that you're contributing to the knowledge of fitness in Hong Kong. I don't know what kind of fitness you do, Herman. Whatever you do it. Advice for
Yeah,
young
Herman.
people, for young entrepreneurs, get a good accountant. I'm serious. Get a good accountant. Seriously. Get somebody that cares about you. Get somebody that loves your business, right? And gives you all the advice. Mentorship is crucial. Mentorship is crucial. I find a rediscovered passion as an older entrepreneur, although I still feel a startupper. I just turned 40. I can't believe it yet. But
You look younger than that,
thank you.
Stefano.
I know. I'm also vegan, plant-based.
You look
Uh,
good. You look
Eric,
good.
like I tell you an anecdote. I stepped one in a startup competition, and there was a lady. I'm not mentioning her name. Uh, and I said hi to Derek. And this girl came to me and she was like, you know, Derek, he's such a generous mentor. And this is beautiful because I can be a mentor, but I'm not too generous sometimes because I'm stingy of my time. I want to sneak out for my workout. I want to stay with my kids. But I learned from better people than me is that sometimes focusing on fellow entrepreneurs that might create something beautiful is very rewarding. You may not make money in the short term because everything is connected to money. So if I help you, I want something back. No, just give. It's gonna come back. I don't know how. It's a magic strength in the universe. But anytime that I committed to those few entrepreneurs that I really supported, it all came back. And it made me feel better. So find mentorship, get inspired, and work out. There is one
It's very
very
important,
important
Stefano.
person
And
you should have a
just to
drink with, and it's Derek Canny. and you would put fire. We have boxing
uh,
sessions
so
with. You
Herman
know what
said,
we
"What
should
would you
do,
give to
Eric? We
yourself at
should
the
do
beginning of?"
mentorship boxing sessions.
Yeah, I know. You know, I bring my team boxing every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But just to answer the fitness thing, actually, I've invested in two gyms up on Lyndhurst Terrace called Palace Studios. So it's palace-studios.com. So I'm a big believer in fitness. I tell my team all the time, I go, success in life starts in the gym. And they say, oh, what do you mean by that? I go, because if you go to the gym every single morning, you will feel more confident. It will release the endorphins and you'll feel happier and fitter. You know, I couldn't care less about if I look good or not look good. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. However, I go to the gym every morning to feel good, you know. So that's why I've invested in gyms here. Now, the landlords in Hong Kong have charged very high rent. That is changing. You know, one third of certain buildings, I won't answer, are empty right now. I don't get myself in trouble by the landlord of the building I'm in right now. I have a few buildings in Hong Kong, so I don't want to mention which one I'm in. But they've been charging extortionate rents, and the fitness industry hasn't been able to survive, right, for most part. But now that's changing, right? And then you have the virtual fitness too. So I believe that there's a huge industry for the fitness industry in Hong Kong once the landlords don't get too greedy again, which I don't believe they will, because you do have more influence from mainland China right now, and the mainland Chinese government are pretty controlling over greedy landlords. So, you know, you can say we want about them, but they do keep the landlords under control. So I believe that the rents and stuff like that will probably be kept at a more reasonable level going forward into the future. Any other
I saw
questions?
it's what advice would you give to yourself at the beginning of your journey, Derek?
Um, I've made an awful lot of mistakes, a lot. Um, I probably would have become more disciplined a lot earlier in life. To be honest with you, I was very undisciplined up until I was 30. You know, I was a bit of a party animal. I go partying all the time, and that held me back a lot. I have to say, because you just it depends how much you want to be successful, right? If you want to be successful, I have to say you can't have a hangover the next day because it just doesn't work. You know
Define,
what I mean?
Derek,
And the main
define
advice,
success. I
um,
never
well,
read
it's defined in many different ways, right? Some people define it on career, some people define it on happiness and family, and I believe that for me personally, I'm just talking about me personally, right? I was a nightclub promoter and I went out a lot and I was out partying all the time, and I lacked a lot of discipline because of that. And as soon as I stopped that, I had a lot of success in business and my family are very happy. So that's just from my personal point of view, okay? To define success from my point of view, and I just had this conversation with my colleague earlier today. Um, he said, "Oh, how can you turn down this amount of money that I was offered for a property business I've got in the US?" I said, "Well, what am I going to do with that money? How is it going to change my life?" I go, all I do is get up early in the morning, I work, I go to gym, and then I go home. I go home dinner with my kids. I go, that's money. That money ain't going to change my life, so I turned it down. I said, like, you know, to me, money is not
Yeah,
success, but you need to have enough money to be
yeah.
comfortable.
Look. Money doesn't make happiness, but it can make you unhappy if you don't have a good amount. So, but if, you know
Very
that
true.
when I ask myself what is success, you know, we always feel successful and stuff. Success is a moving target. It's something that is unreachable. And if you ask me what is the advice that you would give myself at the beginning of the career is taste every single bit of it. Because I'm the very opposite of you. And I'm an obsessed, disciplined person. And I moved every step of the way, one step after the other, like a monk marathoner. And I just looked on the ground. I just drilled. I didn't look around. I was in the Shikansen of my dreams. And I want to get there as soon as possible. I didn't enjoy much. And I still don't enjoy fully. I still don't, because I wake up in the morning and I have a single target. I need to smash it. Right? But the advice that I would give to people is enjoy the ride, because it's not where you want to get. It's how you go from point A to point B. Be happy on what you're doing, because, man, my daughter had a big problem when she was 42 days old, right? And I was already pretty successful to normal standards. If anyone would come in those days in the hospital and tell me, would you give anything you have and more to have your daughter safe and sound? I would just give anything. So,
Yeah, Stefano, sorry to interrupt you there. I just want to let people know that how successful you've been, by the way, because I've not mentioned it. Stefano built the company and sold it for a lot of money, and then now he has a resort in Thailand. So I think that he's a very good person to listen to, because he's had it all. He started off with
well,
nothing. I know
you
Stefano's story. He started
missing,
off from bloody
you're
ground zero.
missing
Go.
something, man. You're missing the fact that I'm surrounded by beautiful people, the best people in the world, and you're one of them. I'm surrounded. Forget about what I build, the companies, the people. Forget all about this. I don't mention it anymore because it puts people off road. Focus on the people you're surrounded by. Really, like finding a person, finding a friend like Derek, finding somebody that is willing to help you through when you're in difficulties. This is worth more than resorts everywhere in the planet or companies or whatever. Focus on the people, focus on your team. And I tell you,
Yeah, that's the
you can be
truth.
a gigantic a-hole and having a lot of companies. Would that be success for you? No, it won't. It won't. So I can tell you, karma will drive you through. And I'm not saying in an exoteric way. I'm saying there is an unexplainable, non-scientific law that says that if you surround yourself with good, positive people, if you follow a business ethic, if you work hard, the magic happens. That's pretty much straightforward.
Yeah, I think that's very true, Stefano. But again, like coming from someone like yourself who's made, very good money, I know that. And I know you came from you started off with nothing and you didn't have much money, you just worked your ass off. I know your story. And then we have Kapahala, by the way, if anyone ever wants to check it out. Stefano has a beautiful resort in Thailand called Kapahala. I'm taking my company there actually in February to his resort. So he's being modest, to be honest with you. It's easy for people to say sometimes when they have the money in the bank. But I think he's been very modest and he's a very successful man. So I just want to put that out there. So whatever he says, please take on board. Apart from that, I think we're hitting 4 o'clock now, and I told my wife I'd be home for 5, so I've got to go pretty soon. But I hope that we've
See,
answered many questions,
remember,
unless anyone
guys,
else has any more.
work-life balance. That's another thing that you should know as a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's true. Not in the early
Life
days, though. There's no
is.
such thing as work-life balance in the early days, Stefano. That's what I tell my staff. I go, there's no such thing as work-life balance in the early days. You have to do your time like a carpenter does their time in an apprenticeship.
What?
You know?
That's very true, Derek.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, guys, I think that I have to bail right now because, like I said, I told my wife I was
And
home
I
and I'm with the
I
kids
just want
today.
to have a final remark. First of all, thank you for the chance to voicing out some of the most important things right now, not just for Hong Kong as a place, but for us as a forming society. And the second thing is that feel free to reach out to me and Derek. Uh, Honestly, what really in the scale of value of Maslow, the pyramid, what it gives pleasure to both, I think, to me and Derek, is supporting people and supporting entrepreneurs. And I speak from my heart. If you need help, please reach out. If I can help, I will help. If I cannot help, I will help whenever I have time. But just to make sure that we are accessible. And being accessible is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's true, Stefano. Thank you for that, and that's why we're good friends because when we met each other on Christian's boat party that night. We just connected, right? And we ended up hanging out with each other for the whole night. We didn't even talk to anybody else.
Exactly.
so, lots of love to you, Stefan, and everybody else on the call. And thank you so much for your time, everybody, today. And appreciate it all. If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Stefano on LinkedIn, and always happy to respond. Okay. So take care and gung hei fat choi, everybody. Happy Chinese New Year, and God bless you all, and take care.